It was a time in the NHL where on ice referees and linesmen were very well respected and well paid for the great job they did. Now, a trailblazer of the modern era of the NHL was one Wally Harris. Now, unfortunately, Wally passed away on April 18, 2024, after a short illness. His NHL referee career spanned 39 years, including 17 as an NL on ice official. He was also served 3 years as the NHL's first director of officiating and 16 as an NHL supervisor of officials. Harris refereed many historical games. We all remember key contests in the 60s and 70s, such as the famous 3-3 tie between the Habs and the Soviet Union's Central Red Army team on December 20th, 31st, 75, a game fondly remembered and widely regarded as one of the best sports games ever played. Over the course of his career, he refereed 953 regular season games, 85 playoff contests, and 6 Stanley Cup Finals series. Now, born in Montreal, Quebec on November 23rd, 35, he unfortunately died at a hospital in the Montreal area on April 18, 2024, at the age of 88. Now, in 1951, he played for the Lachine Maroons in the Quebec Amateur Hockey Association, but eventually became a referee 5 years later. In 63, he signed his first contract with the NHL, officiating for various leagues such as the WH Western Hockey Association, the CHL, and the AHL. Now, starting in 66, he started officiating NHL, refereeing again more than 950 regular season games and 85 playoff contests until 83. His first game was on December 11, 66, between the Habs and the Rangers. Again, unfortunately, on January 13, 68, he refereed the game that included the tragic incident in which Bill Masterson of the Minnesota North Stars was knocked to the ice and suffered a fatal head injury resulting in his death. In 83, he was the first NHL referee to officiate the Spengler Cup and did so for 3 years. During this time, he was also involved in various training camps in Austria, Italy, and Switzerland. His last game was on May 12, 83, during the Stanley Cup Final between the Oilers and the New York Islanders. In 89, he was assistant director of officials to Brian Lewis, and in 2002, he retired from the NHL. Now, according to Dave Stubbs of NHL.com, he was also a referee at 2 All-Star games, the league's 28 and 75 in Montreal, and the 34th and 82 at the Capitol Center in Landover. He refereed playoffs between 66 and 83, working the Stanley Cup Final 73, 75, 76, 80, 82, and 83. Now, the native of the Montreal suburban Lachine unfortunately took ill during a recent trip to Florida, returned home and was hospitalized in late March, remaining in the facility's care until his passing. Now, with a personality that would light up the room, Wally was respected and revered by all officials he managed, said Stephen Walcom, NHL Executive Vice President and Director of Officiating. There was an assuredness and confidence that instilled in these people and an obstinate love for the game of hockey. Now, consider one of the best and ironically nicest looking referees of his era. He would always stand out for his personality. Wally understood the importance of officials in hockey, said Walcom, and worked nonstop to pass along his great wisdom to the next generations. When he needed to be serious and get his point across, he did this exceptionally well, with both team executives and a rank and file on the ice. Now, again, the 75 game, he also officiated the controversial January 24th, 74 contest at the Boston Garden between the Bruins and the Blackhawks, in which he assessed Bruin star Bobby Orr misconduct in the final minute of a 2-1 Chicago win, touching off a near riot by enraged Bruins fans. Now, again, going back to Canadiens-red Army contests, was historic that showcased the best squad in Russia and a supreme NHL club that was on its way to winning 4 consecutive Stanley Cup titles at the decade's most dominant team. Now, in this contest, Trenchak made 35 saves against 10 shots turned aside by the Canadiens' Ken Dryden, and Montreal dominated the contest. Now, Harris was chosen to referee the New Year's game, and the NHL's Claude Bechard and Russia's Yuri Karandin worked the lines, and 15 years later recalled the stress of the night. About 2 or 3 minutes in the game, I made a call to Van Cormier and got very upset. Harris told Dick Harvard Jr. for the latter's 91 book, The Habs and Oral History, 1940-1980. He skated up to me ranting and raving all over the place. I said, "Hey man, take it easy, settle down. There's pressure on everybody here tonight." Cornway said, "I know, but we have to beat these blanks." What I remember most of all is Stretch Shack. When you're 2 or 3 feet away from a goalie, you get a good look at him. That night, I never saw him make the first move. I can't remember a goalie who could stare down the guys he did that night. It was one of the top games I ever worked. Now, that Harris had survived the Lacey skates that night was a major miracle. 23 months earlier, he had tossed Orr with 50 seconds left to play in Boston and caused that near right it, and he would need a security escort back to his hotel. Now, Orr had rushed in Chicago's end in the bed to tie the game, was sent flying by Blackhawks defenseman Bill White a split second after an offside was whistled. A day came after me, Harris told the Gazette in an April 81 feature. No one realized that an offside had been called. Anyway, Bobby got excited and got himself thrown out of the game. The Bruins, especially Orr, Esposito, and Sanderson, had been in Harris's face throughout the game for officiating that the charge was one-sided. Fans who rained garbage on the ice conveniently ignored the fact that Esposito had been fouled on 4 breakaways that night by his brother Tony in the Blackhawks' net. It took more than an hour to play the final 50 seconds with anything that wasn't nailed down, and some things that were showering garden ice. Harris was barely in his hotel room when the phone rang. It was Bobby Orr, he said. He asked me if I got back all night. I'm back all right. For all of the chaos, Harris loved being a referee. The money is good and so is the pension plan. He said in 1975 LA Times article on NHL officials. But to me, the satisfaction of a job well done and earning the respect of players and coaches are more important. You take the best players in the world and put them out on the ice. If you don't have a referee to run the show properly, you don't have much of a game. If you called every infraction, you wouldn't have many players on the ice or fans in the stands. If you let them go wild, it would be a riot. Being able to do a job right is rewarding. Now, he was a decent junior player in the Montreal area without much hope of finding work in the 16 NHL. The Habs offered him a $4,500 contract to play in their farm system, but the future Zebra had other ideas. I was playing senior hockey a couple nights a week, and a friend coaching a midget team asked me to help him out. Next thing I knew, I was a ref. Before long, he caught the eye of Carl Voss, then the NHL's referee-in-chief, and was offered a post in the AHL. Working for a Montreal chemical factory, Harris asked his boss for the $25 raise and was turned down. A career in stripes was born. With a couple of years season in the minors, he was skated on to Forum ice for the December 11th, 66 game between the Habs and the Rangers. Walter Attanas and Bob Frampton was their linesman. His first of 953 regular season NHL games was a 4-2 win for the visitors. John Ferguson and the Rangers' Jim Nielsen were the first players he called for fighting majors. 17 years later, in his final season, Harris was shadowed by Toronto Star writer Wayne Parrish for a day-in-the-life story. It detailed the veteran referee flying in Toronto from his Montreal suburban home on the morning of December 8, 82 game between the Leafs and the Canucks, having earlier that day tended to his sideline distribution business for sandblasting abrasives and pollution control devices. Harris at the time was earning $67,500 as a ref, supplemented by $15,000 in playoff wages. The game was over the brisk 2 hours and 26 minutes, about 15 minutes shorter than the average game that season. Last call Wally, Harris was officially dubbed by thirsty reporters. Now the Canucks skated off Maple Leaf Gardens that night with a 7-3 victory, slumping Toronto jeered by fans as they dropped from the Southern North Division to last place in the NHL. Awful game, Harris told Parrish a couple of times that I pinched myself to stay awake. It was so dull, in fact, that Canucks clenched fist Dave Tiger Williams had 4 shots on goal and no penalty minutes. Harris then retired at season's end. His final appearance made 1283 and his Stanley Cup win for the Islanders against the Oilers in Edmonton. That summer he was named the NHL first director of officials by league president John Ziegler in press boxes from 87 through 2002. He would work more than 1,500 games as supervisor officials, from 99 serving as assistant to league director Brian Lewis. Now, early in 1990 playoffs, he predicted the future while considering the disputed goal calls that had punctuated the first few games of the postseason. I'd love to see video review, he mused out loud. Down to a man, referees would like to get jurisdiction out of our hands. I wouldn't want it for penalties because it's a judgment call, but goals have nothing to do with judgment. Video review began the following season. Now, Harris will be remembered by many for his poise no matter the pressure of the game and the mentoring that he provided officials who have called games at every level. His friends were all also recall a legendary sense of humor, where many arena organists sarcastically serenaded officials with three blind mice. Harris loved the tune, so much so they had three blindfolded mice printed on the corner of his business card when he left the game. Wally will be best remembered for his near hearty laugh and infectious personality. Walcom said, "It put all at ease while ensuring everyone he encountered felt good about being alive and in the game of hockey." Now, Wally Harris, to me, one of the best referees of all time. Gregson, Koharski, and Frazier, the evil trio as I call him, would fuck up a game more than anybody else. But Wally Harris, when he made a call, you tend to agree it was the right call. And great personality, a very, very interesting cat. But the second most important, I think, mustache in the 1960s and 70s was Wally Harris because he uh, he had style and he had grace. A very very cool cat. And you know something, when he made a call, he let the fans know, I'm in charge. There was no way that anybody said that Wally Harris wasn't anything but one of the best referees of all time. And you know something, we do a lot of podcasts on people NHL stars passing away. But Wally Harris, my God, ladies and gentlemen, what a beautiful, beautiful guy he was. Loved hockey. I know his family is going to miss him. The NHL players he helped out, and the coaches and all that. He was always, always, always positive towards everybody in the league. Even though the Boston riot almost killed him, but like I said, it is what it is. But that 3-3 game, it was a pretty lot of pressure. But I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, the referees now. Do you even know who the referees are now in the NHL? Because back in the day, we all know who they were. This was the time there's no helmet. The names were on the back, and tremendous. So, ladies and gentlemen, the great Wally Harris has passed away. We're going to miss your brother, and Saturday nights we're all right for fighting, because if a fight broke out, I think Wally would decide as best he could who deserved the penalty and who did it. Anyway, in heaven, as we say, the hockey ice sheet is always frozen and is always fast ice. So, Wally, rest in peace. You will be missed, brother. Have a good one.